Hello, where were we? So the way I see it, you've got three options shelter-wise. You've got your tarp over your frame, which you've seen. You've got a hammock with a tarp over it and possibly the motor as well, and you've got a tent itself. I guess you've also got, you know, a hotel or a B&B or whatever. I think on something like the Icarus, where the course has been designed to force you to have a night out, that you should camp, you know, because you're supposed to be having an adventure. When I was planning for 2018 one, I'd rang ahead, I planned my landing spot, I'd found a stables where I could stash my gear, I'd pretty much booked a room in a pub a mile away from my landing spot, and I was just gonna vlog my burger and chips in there. But I knew at the time that that wasn't in the spirit of adventure, so I'm camping next year. I chose a tarp over the frame. I thought that that would be the easiest and most basic one. You've already got a frame for a tent, whack a tarp over it, you've got some shelter. So I did a mock-up in the garden. I set my motor up, I got the tarp out, I put it over the frame. It's a 3 meter by 3 meter tarp, and it was fairly obvious fairly soon that it wasn't going to do it. It didn't cover the front of the motor, it just had enough to run down the back. There wasn't a lot of room inside, as you can probably see now. And as a shelter, it was pretty basic. It literally was something over the top of you. I mean, even the cage was an open space. Then I moved on to buying a paramotor cover. I thought I'd put the cover on and then Velcro all around the edge, and then Velcro on my tarp so that my tarp could just sort of stick onto the front side. So the motor's covered, the wing will possibly go underneath the cover, then I've got a tarp that comes off, and I've got a bit more shelter because the cover is there blocking wind or whatever from the front. And then I had ideas of chopping my tarp up to make it into a more tent shape. This came after seeing the Gin Gliders tent that came out. I don't think it's in production. I think you've got to order it. It's no doubt very expensive because the manufacturing run would be so small, perhaps even one at a time, handmade by some guy, I don't know. But I was starting from that sort of tent-based thing, based off the frame. There's another guy on YouTube with some videos some years old where he's making them. I'll link that here. I don't know if he's ever made them or anything like that. I assume not, because I haven't heard of them. What I was planning for the Icarus 2018 was a hammock and a tarp. So the hammock, here's a hammock, straps for the trees, a nice big comfy hammock with a mosquito net over the top. And then I was simply going to string a line and put a tarp over that like a roof. Problem with that is you need to land near trees or something that you can use to shelter yourself, your machine and your hammock. That's when I started looking at a tarp over the frame, because you could do that wherever you landed, it would be okay. Before I got too far with this tarp velcroed to the cover, beyond some doodles and vague plans to start cutting my tarp up, my friend Giles Fowler, link to him here, he found this tent. This tent, the Matterhorn one. I'll put some pictures up on the screen now, but basically it's 1.5 kilos. It goes a lot smaller than this bag. Inside the bag we have got your inner, all looks quite big at the moment, a bag of aluminium or steel pegs, a fly sheet which looks like it will fold up fairly small without too much trouble, some instructions with some pictures, and some poles. 18 inches long, maybe 45 centimeters, something like that. It's all one pole. So I'm talking to Giles about this tent, and we're trying to work out how to get the tent on the paramotor, because that's the problem with poles and tents. A tarp you can fold up, make flat, you can stick that in a duffel bag on your lap or whatever, and then you've got pegs and lines and you can carry that anywhere. Also looked, while we were looking for ways to transport, I was looking at Andy Bex's video, which I'll link here. He's got a bulldog. There's clearly more places to carry things on that motor than there is on my V2. But then Giles mentioned he had a sewing machine, so he started making custom bags to carry this tent on any motor. So I've got a package from Giles. I've got here a Paramotor custom delivery. See what's inside. It's a very small bag. One large pouch, all nicely sewed. Thank you, Giles. This is amazing. Inside here, this one is going to be attached to the right-hand arm on my motor as a pouch. On my left will be my reserve. We've got a bag here with Velcro straps on to strap around the frame. Excellent work, Giles. Little drawstring in there. School run. This one's for the poles. Fowler Customs, custom fit. Look at that, that's exact. These are designed to strap round the vertical legs of the frame. Looks like I've got another one of these. Not sure what's happening there. What's this one for, Giles? And then two smaller pouches. One for the fly sheet, one for the inner. Look at the quality of that workmanship. So, fly sheet in here. One fly sheet. Now just to get this inner in the other one and work out where it's going to go on the motor. This tent, by the way, was 20 quid, so basically disposable. How many times are you going to use it paracamping in a year? I don't know. But as and when it breaks, for £20 you can buy a new one. One inner. Fly sheet inner poles. Pegs would obviously go in a bag or something. So if I mount this pouch on the outside of my right arm, then I can fit my entire tent in there. Yeah, that's my entire tent on my right arm. Just some straps on here to hold it on. And we're good to go. Could get the pegs in there, no problem. Could possibly, because there's a lot of room in this pouch, get the cover in as well. Here's the cover. This is very thin. This will fold up small. That might also go in there with a bit of jiggery pokery. And that'll be all good. So I'm going to get my motor together and mock all this up in some way. So here's where we are so far. This is the pole bag. These straps need lengthening so they wrap round properly. Get some tension under there. The middle one won't go round because there isn't enough gap here, so that can come off. And this one at the top is a little, if you can see it, there's a fuel pipe coming out here. So that could do with dropping down just a little bit. That should be the pole spoken for. The other bag was a spare, a different kind. If it comes to it, that with its smaller loops can be attached to one of these frame spars, which are much thinner than these frame parts, but I don't know if that's a bit close to the prop. My reserve mounts on this arm. It's a bag about a foot square, which is great because this bag is about a foot square. The plan is for that one to basically hang on that arm on the other side, which will balance out the weight, and that gives me my whole tent in this bag, possibly the Paramotor cover as well. So that's where we're at so far for shelter. I've got a tent The other things I need to consider are a mattress, a sleeping mat to insulate from the ground, and a sleeping bag. Now I've got a sleeping bag. It's a light duty one, very light duty. I used it at the bore, but it was very cold then. I'm choosing these things on the basis that the Icarus is running in the summer, and I'm choosing these things just for the Icarus. If you were going on a different kind of paracamping trip, you'd take different gear. This is specific for one night out on a race in good weather in the British summertime. So I'm going to lay out on this table now what my total things that I'm carrying so far, and then as I go through this camping, shelter, cooking, etc. bit, I'll add the things to it. Okay, so total carry so far is tent inner and outer, poles, bag of pegs. I'm going to find some lighter ones than those. Paramotor cover, I'm thinking that might fit in this bag. If not, I've got plenty of space for it. It folds up nice and small. Mattress, sleeping mattress. Compresses nice and flat. That'll probably go in the bottom of my bag, which I'll show you in a second. Sleeping bag. It's very lightweight. It's very light duty. It's a summer sleeping bag and nothing else. I hate this. I'd love to find a nicer way to carry this, but at the moment it's just going in my bag until I come up with something else. Probably use this bag or one just like it. Mounts to the arms, pocket to get into in flight, phone, mirror, etc. Pocket on the side, Velcro on top for nav. I'd fold this to the exact size of the bottom of the bag, get it nice and thin. That will fit in there. I hate that thing. But that gives me lots of space for other things. If I don't use that bag, I use this one that I've flown with loads. This is an old camera bag. Again, Velcro on top, loads of pockets everywhere for stuff in flight if needed. Reasonable amount of room in there. Though not as much as the duffel. And that thing just fills up space everywhere it goes, so the journey to find better carrying for that begins here. If you've got any hints, let me know. So that's the adventure so far. Shelter. Next one will probably be cooking and the world of penny stoves. Small, light, I'm thinking 1 meal, 2 cups of coffee. That's all I'm gonna need. So I'll see you then.